Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here. We're live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a one in the live chat and then we can get today's stream started. And as I'm waiting for the ones to come in, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that is the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does is that it helps make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications, and it also helps to make sure that this video gets pushed throughout the YouTube algorithm. Secondly, if you're new to the channel or you've been ghost watching for quite some time now, please do me a favor and yourself a favor by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please share this video out on your social media platforms to let everyone know that I'm currently live, to share this information with your family and friends. And it also does help me to give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. And also follow me on Telegram, lastly, at TD Media Group. The link is in the description box below, as well as it will also be pinned in the comment section after the stream is over as well. So now that the introduction is out of the way and the ones are coming in, we can get today's show started. This is going to be a kind of fun show for me. I always enjoy speaking on, the King Brandon Johnson, right? The Emperor of Chicago. I have to give credit where credit is due because I'm going to start using this. Many of you may remember the last stream that I did on Brandon Johnson in Chicago with the city council meeting where everybody was going off, particularly speaking legal migrants, right? Legal immigrants who are going off on Brandon Johnson about the Venezuelan illegal immigrants that are tearing up their communities. And during that live, in the city council meeting, there was an older black gentleman, an elder black gentleman who spoke, and he made that great comparison, saying that China has a one-party system, but Chicago has a one-party system too, meaning just Democrats only. You don't have any other real options, right? After that, someone left a comment, and I'm stealing this. I'm just letting you know now, but I'm going to give you credit. The username is at Kevin 52002. I believe it is. Kevin, Kev ing 52002. He said, "Welcome to the People's Republic of Chicago." I'm taking that. It belongs to me now, but I have given you your credit. The People's Republic of Chicago. Oh man. So now that that's out the way, shout out to you for giving me that. We're going to head over to the People's Republic of Chicago because Brandon Johnson, Emperor Brandon Johnson, at this point, honestly, at this stage in the game, for as long as I've been covering Brandon Johnson, which has been the entirety of his time as mayor, right? I'm genuinely starting to believe, in my opinion, that Brandon Johnson is clinically insane. I'm starting to believe that this man is clinically insane. In my opinion, I think, I believe, I assume, because he's doing the unspeakable now. Now this man is blaming Donald Trump for why the crown jewel was supposed to be the crown jewel, right, of his tenure as mayor. He's now blaming Trump for the reason that it failed. Yes, bring Chicago home. The referendum that he was going to hang on to as his crown jewel to show everybody this is what I did for Chicago. He's blaming it on Trump. I want to get into that referendum very quickly first, right? Let me pull this up for you. Most of you know what this is already, but just in case you don't, I want to get you caught up. So what referendum am I talking about? What is Bring Chicago Home? Bring Chicago Home referendum fails. AP says over 53% of voters oppose the proposal to raise the real estate transfer tax on property sales over $1 million to generate funding for homelessness prevention programs. And I believe that a good deal of people, there are a lot of reasons that people were against it, but one of the reasons that I believe a lot of people were against it, and it was something that I spoke on a lot because it's what I believe, Brandon Johnson was going to use that money to cover the migrant crisis in Chicago. That's what he was going to use. That money was not going to go to homeless citizens in the city. The bulk of that money what was supposed to generate $100 million annually was going to go to fund Biden's migrant crisis. That's where that was going to go. So with that, I'm very glad that it failed, because if you're going to do a referendum such as this to help the homeless in Chicago, it should go to the citizens of Chicago, not to illegal immigrants who broke the law and are participating in mass asylum fraud, right? But now let me just get through this article very quickly, once again, just to get those caught up who aren't familiar with the Bring Chicago Home referendum. And the article reads, the Bring Chicago Home referendum to raise some real estate tax for homeless prevention programs has failed. The Associated Press called the race Friday night, with about 53.2% of voters rejecting the proposal and 46.8% of the voters in favor. So it failed miserably, right? The margin was about 21,000 votes. The results barely budged even after over 12,000 vote by mail ballots were counted by Friday night. We're going to come back to that, because I'll just say this in a nutshell. Mail-in ballots, that just needs to be illegal at this point. That mail-in ballots are too funny style. But even with the 12,000 mail-in ballots that were still being counted for by Friday night, it didn't matter. The Bring Chicago Home referendum still failed miserably. The loss is a big blow to the progressive agenda of Mayor Brandon Johnson and his city council allies. And it truly is a big blow, because once again, this was going to be the piece of legislation that Brandon Johnson was going to hang his hat on, to say, look at me, Emperor Brandon Johnson, look at what I've done for the People's Republic of Chicago. Yes, I'm the one who housed all these migrants and left Chicago citizens in the street, because that's exactly what was going to happen, right? But now let's get to the meat of why you actually clicked on this video. And I want to set the stage first by playing this news clip that introduces the fact that, yes, Brandon Johnson did indeed blame Donald Trump for the reason that the Bring Chicago Home referendum failed. Now, to be specific and to be clear, he didn't directly say it was because of Donald Trump. He blamed it on Trump supporters. He said Trump supporters, MAGA, is the reason that the Bring Chicago Home referendum failed, which that in and of itself is foolishness. That's foolishness. He's using MAGA to cover up from the fact that the reality is that Chicago, being a vote blue no matter whose city from top to bottom, super majority Democrat, ran from top to bottom. It's a one-party state, right? It's unfathomable that a city such as this, that's blue, once again from top to bottom, would reject such a progressive proposal. You wouldn't think so, right? In a city like Chicago. But that referendum failed, and it failed miserably. So to mask the fact that it failed miserably in a city like Chicago, which is a deep blue state and a deep blue city, I should say, he's now turning around and blaming it on MAGA. He's blaming it on Trump supporters, which in turn, what he's doing is blaming it on Trump, which is insane. Let's get into this news clip first before we get into what Brandon Johnson actually had to say. Because once again, I want to make sure that we all understand that this isn't clickbait. This is what he said.
It's been a bumpy week for Mayor Brandon Johnson. He is losing his seasoned chief of staff, Rich Gaitis. The longtime City Hall insider is leaving the administration after less than a year on the job. This comes at the same time the mayor's progressive agenda took a hit at the ballot box with the loss of the Bring Chicago Home referendum.
I'm still here, still standing, and I will be punching back.
Yesterday, a defiant mayor promised to continue the fight for unhoused Chicagoans.
You all know who I am, right? We're going to keep organizing.
But Johnson,
we know exactly who you are, Mr. Johnson. For lack of better words, you are a clinically insane clown at this point. A clinically insane clown. In my opinion, I believe, I assume. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not diagnosing him. But just in my humble opinion, this man is clinically insane.
Johnson did not mention working with the business or real estate groups that opposed the referendum. Instead, the mayor suggested the same people who voted against Bring Chicago Home may be Trump supporters.
He really drew a line in the sand against what he perceives to be the business interests in the city. That's not a good position for a mayor of a big city to be in.
20th Ward Alderman Jeanette Taylor agrees. As a former community organizer who worked with Johnson as an activist, Taylor says once elected to office, it's about governing and listening to all sides.
If you're wondering why my face looks the way it does when I see Jeanette Taylor, is because I am profoundly disappointed in this woman. I heard such glowing and high praises of her prior to the Brandon Johnson administration taking over, of how she was just great community activist who stood up for the people, so on and so forth. You know, she was, so pro-black and all this kind of stuff. And then once the migrant crisis hit full speed and push came to shove, she has folded and turned her back on the community that she's supposed to be represented at each and every opportunity that has presented itself. And she has done it consistently, voting against the best interest of her community and her constituents. She has done it consistently. She is 100% a DNC shill, bought and paid for, who is doing her job the same way Brandon Johnson is. She is not some great, community leader, great community activist. Oh, she loves the Black community. No, not at all. She's no different from Brandon Johnson. The only difference between her and Brandon Johnson is that she wears like silly stuff like this. And I know I got the logo over the video, so it's a little hard to see. But she dresses up in, I don't know what this is supposed to be, traditional, what's it called, like African garb or something like that. I don't know why she wears silly stuff like this, but she does. And this is her simply playing the part of, I guess, apparently being pro-Black, whatever that even means in 2024 at this stage of the game. Whatever that even means now. But let's carry on.
I had to realize that I couldn't work for government and hate government.
Taylor says, which means not just organizing like-minded people, but working with the opposition.
It has to happen with all of us at the table. We're not at the space of, now we in charge, gotcha. It can't be that.
The Better Government Association's David Greising says former progressive Mayor Harold Washington understood the difference between being an organizer and an elected official.
He was a progressive mayor with an emphasis on the fact that he was mayor of the city of Chicago.
While the mayor says he'll use his skills as an organizer to continue to fight, he was not specific on how he plans to raise money for the homeless situation.
So there's that. So now what I want to do is let's get into what Brandon Johnson had to say. And if it looks like I'm a bit blurry or pixelated, my apologies. I was trying something different with today's stream, to say the least, without going into too much detail. And it looks like it has me slightly pixelated, which is annoying me. You probably don't care. It's probably not bothering you, but it's really irritating me that I look like I'm in 360p or something. But anyways, let's get into what Brandon Johnson actually had to say. Okay, let's get into that, and let's listen to him blame Donald Trump for the reason his Bring Chicago Home referendum failed, which is completely insane. Let's get into it.
I think there were 30.
Let me rewind it back just a little bit. There are 373 of you all in the stream right now. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. That is extremely important. Thank you.
Also not lost on me, I think there were 38,000 Republicans that showed up and voted for Donald Trump or something like that in Chicago. So, since if we're trying to draw some conclusions and you all want some other, analytics you might want to discover, that might be something to look into, because I'll just say it, there's a good chance that played a part in this referendum. So the same people who want to see Donald Trump to become president, sometimes I do feel like he wants my job, but who wants to be president again, those are the same voters who voted for him, and the same voters where you look at where there were more no's, they were concentrated there.
What is he talking about? He's literally just saying anything. He's literally just saying anything. This man said, sometimes I think that Donald Trump wants my job as mayor. Why would Donald Trump want your job as the mayor of Chicago? he got tripped up and fumbling in what he and started fumbling around in what he was trying to say because he knew he was speaking nonsense. He knew he was talking completely ridiculous, utter foolishness, and didn't know how to recover because he's a dishonest individual. He's extremely dishonest. And that's why he fumbled the way that he did and said something that was as ridiculous as what he just said. I want to play that one more time.
Also not lost on me, I think there were 38,000 Republicans that showed up and voted for Donald Trump or something like that in Chicago. So, you know, since if we're trying to draw some conclusions and you all want some other, you know, analytics you might want to discover, that might be something to look into, because I'll just say it, there's a good chance that played a part in this referendum. So the same people who want to see Donald Trump to become president, you know, sometimes I do feel like he wants my job, but
is he drunk? This man needs to be drug tested or something. I don't what is he talking about? What is he even saying right now? Oh my goodness. This man is drunk on the job.
Who want to see Donald Trump to become president, you know, sometimes I do feel like he wants my job, but who wants to be president again. Those are the same voters who voted for him, and the same voters where you look at where there were more no's, they were concentrated there.
I mean, I'm actually genuinely at a loss of words. I'm at a loss of words. I don't even know how you kind of explain your way around something like this, because this man went from King Brandon Johnson, Emperor of Chicago, aka Mr. Blame Everything on Greg Abbott, as he would always do, to now, you know, I'm going to blame the failure of my entire administration, essentially at this point, on Donald Trump, because that's what Bring Chicago Home failing represents. Bring the failure of Bring Chicago Home, as I've stated multiple times over, that failure impacts his entire tenure as mayor of Chicago, because that's what he was going to hang his hat on. If he's able to pass that, then that will be the crown jewel of his administration, that he was able to place this tax on properties being sold at $1 million and over that would generate $100 million a year, and that $100 million a year would be used towards, you know, housing the homeless and homeless prevention programs and things of that nature. If he's unable to pass this, and he's going to keep trying, right? He's going to keep trying. If he's unable to pass this, then the reality is that his administration is going to look like a complete failure. Now, many of us already look at it as a complete failure, and he's like, what, barely a year in? We understand his administration for being the failure that it is. But as far as, you know, the general public is concerned, because you got to remember, most people, they're not paying attention to this kind of stuff. You know, they might know who Brandon Johnson is by name passingly, but the reality is, at the end of the day, all people know is his name and the fact that he passed this referendum that sounded great on the surface, when in reality, where it was going to go to is all that money was going to go towards housing migrants over the citizens of Chicago, right? So he desperately needed this to pass. He desperately needed this to pass. And he is going to keep fighting for this to pass because, like I said, his legacy, if you want to call it that, really depends on it. It really depends on it. If he isn't able to get this across the finish line by the time he leaves office, Brandon Johnson will most likely go down as the worst mayor in Chicago history. Honestly, if he isn't able to get this passed, it's going to be bad for him if it isn't bad enough already. Now, before we move on to the next segment, I want to just thank those who have supported the channel today. Thank you very much, DSB, for being the first person to come through and show support on today's stream. I appreciate you, DSB. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much, Saul, for always coming through, just here to show support. I appreciate you, Saul, for always coming through and showing support. And shout out to College of Natural Health Science, BDA, for the super chat. College of Natural Health Science said, me and my black dog loving the AI Russian bot grift. Oh yeah, the AI Russian bot grift is hidden, isn't it? It is hidden. It is hidden heavy. I was very tempted to play Brandon Johnson screaming and yelling, hooping and hollering about how he can't find time to go visit the border because his wife is black, and he has black children, and you don't know what it's like to have a black wife and black children and to be raising them on the west side of Chicago, and you're asking me to do my job as mayor and to go down to the border. You must be crazy for asking me to do my job. I was very tempted to play that video. I might, depending if we have enough time left over, but as of right now, I'm going to hold off on that. I'll save that video for another day, because what I want to do is I want to come back to this portion right here. I want to come back to this. Do you remember earlier in the stream, I had this highlighted in blue, and I want to revisit this. The margin was about 21,000 votes. The results barely budged even after over 12,000 vote by mail ballots were counted by Friday night. Mail-in ballots, man. Mail-in ballots have to go. Mail-in ballots have to go. For those of you who don't know, a few days ago, I believe it was Monday, if I'm not mistaken, on Monday, 10,000 mail-in ballots were, found. They were just kind of popped up. Whoopsies, look what I found. I found 10,000 mail-in ballots that we have to count up, just like that in Chicago, right? It is just like that. They popped up. And without me even saying too much, I just want to play the clip first. Let me play the Fox 32 News clip concerning this 10,000 mail-in ballots that, they just happened to find lying around that were mistakenly skipped over. But thank God we found them now, right? Let's get into this.
Is really going over.
Let me rewind this back just a little bit. Also, there are 600 of you in the stream right now. If you haven't already, please hit the like button if you haven't already. And yes, Red 19, ridiculous and still counting. Let me let this play out. I'm gonna let this play out first.
Chicago Elections Board is really going over ballots because a mistake was made.
Fox 32, the first to break this story last night at 9, and Nate Rogers at the Board of Elections building today as the ballots were being counted very closely.
It truly is down to the wire here at the Board of Elections. Take a look for yourself. Elections officials right now making sure every ballot that was cast here in Cook County is indeed counted. All of this comes more than a day after authorities revealed that they did not include some 10,000 votes in earlier reported numbers. Ballot counting and signature verification continued Sunday here at Chicago's Board of Elections. Today alone, an additional 13,000 votes by mail were added to unofficial results.
You're looking at the person who made that error, and I am absolutely mortified as the communication director of the Board of Elections.
So he's the guy that's taking blame for, miscounting and making the mistake. Whoopsies. There was 10,000 ballots, mail-in ballots that, I didn't count for. I didn't account for, 10,000 ballots I just happened to find, oh, look what I found. I found 10,000 more mail-in ballots. Looks like I glossed over this. I forgot to count these. Sorry. Whoopsies. 10,000 mail-in ballots just out of nowhere. Okay. And this is the guy, Max Beaver, who's taking the blame for it. He's saying it was me, guys. I know this is unacceptable. Sorry about that. It's better to apologize than to ask permission, right? Let's rewind it back just a little bit. Just ballots falling out the sky. That brings the primary, the Illinois primary was Tuesday, March 19th. Today is March 27th, and they're still counting. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Elections were on the 19th. Everything as far as counting should have ended on the 20th. There's no way that you should still be counting ballots this far out with people like, whatever his name was, telling us, whoopsies, look what I found. I found some more mail-in ballots. It's just criminal in my opinion. It's criminal in my opinion. But once again, this is the People's Republic of Chicago, a one-party system in the city. So I mean, Go figure. Go figure.
Mail were added to unofficial results.
You're looking at the person who made that error, and I am absolutely mortified as the communication director of the Board of Elections.
Director of Public Information Max Beaver saying he accidentally left out more than 10,000 ballots from the official Election Day count.
He didn't accidentally leave out anything. He did not accidentally leave out anything. In my opinion, I believe, I assume. It's possible that he accidentally left out 10,000 ballots, that he's now pulling out, and telling us, hey, look what I found. I skipped over these. Sorry. That's mail-in ballots have to go, man. Mail-in ballots have to go. That's how you go to sleep thinking that one person won the election. And then when you wake up, the other person won the election, but they won by a landslide. And you're going, wait, what happened? Because when I went to bed, one guy was winning, and he was winning pretty heftily, right? And then when I woke up in the morning, his opponent won by a landslide and annihilated him. That's how stuff like that happens. In my opinion, I believe, I assume.
Ultimately, what happened was that I didn't add 2 and 2 together for ballots that were received.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting this guy. I'm gonna let this play now. Let's hear his explanation. And I apologize, I keep interrupting. There are 692 of you all on the stream right now. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. I'm gonna stop interrupting now.
Director of Public Information Max Beaver saying he accidentally left out more than 10,000 ballots from the official Election Day count.
Ultimately, what happened was that I didn't add 2 and 2 together for ballots that were received back on Monday the 18th, leading into Tuesday Election Day.
Every day since Election Day, more than 30 poll watchers, including attorneys, have stood by observing votes being tallied.
They've been a great presence, making sure that this is a transparent process, that everyone feels comfortable. It is a very complicated process when it comes to vote-by-mail counting.
While the votes are still coming in, we have to make sure, and we will make sure, that every voice is counted and every voice is heard.
We want a fair and effective justice system. We want a fair criminal justice system.
This as the race for Cook County State's Attorney continues to narrow. With 100% of precincts reported, the Board of Elections shows Eileen O'Neill Burke and Democratic challenger Clayton Harris nearly neck and neck. Now, April 2nd is the deadline for counting late arriving ballots and provisional ballots that were cast on Election Day. April 9th is the official proclamation of election results. I'm Nate Rogers reporting downtown at the Chicago Board of Elections, Fox 32 Chicago.
So you're telling me, if I heard this correctly, that they could be counting all the way up until April 9th? Really? Let me see if I'm hearing that correctly. Let me run it back one more time in closing. Not the entire video, just that last 30 seconds of what he was saying. I just want to hear that one more time, because that's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous.
April 2nd is the deadline for counting late. 100% of precincts reported, the Board of Elections shows Eileen O'Neill Burke and Democratic challenger Clayton Harris nearly neck and neck. No, April 2nd is the deadline for counting late arriving ballots and provisional ballots that were cast on Election Day. April 9th is the official proclamation of election results.
So the election was March 19th, but they have until April 2nd to, find another 10,000 ballots here, find another 10,000 ballots there. And they just keep going, whoopsies. Hey, looks like, we forgot to count these ballots over here that we just found sitting over here in the corner. But I mean, at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, blame it on Trump. You can just blame it on Trump like Brandon Johnson. You blame it on Trump because, like Brandon Johnson said, Trump, he actually wants to become the mayor of Chicago. Sometimes Brandon Johnson feels like Trump wants his job. Those are the words of Brandon Johnson, not me. But yeah, when in doubt, blame it on Trump. And that's all I got for you guys today. Blame it on Trump. And Greg Abbott. But, you can't go wrong with blaming everything on Trump. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining me today. please hit the like button on your way out. There's 672 of you in the stream right now. As I close things out, thank you to DSB for running it back one more time, doubling down on the support with 2 super chats on top of the fact that you're also a channel member. I appreciate you, DSB. Thank you very much. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms, and also make sure to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below, and it will be pinned in the live chat once the stream ends. Thank you all for your time, and have a great evening and a safe one. Peace. And Jay the Informant with the last minute buzzer beater. Oh, and College of Natural Health and Science. Look at y'all coming through. Swish with the last minute buzzer beater. Thank you, Jay the Informant, who said, being fair, Chicago isn't known for mathematics. Jay the Informant, aka Jay Electronica. And thank you very much, College of Natural Health Sciences, BDA, for coming through as well with that last minute buzzer beater of support. Thank you very much, and thank you all for your time. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.